Hi, I'm Jessica from Culture Magazine, and today I'm joined by writer-director Alex Burunova to talk about her powerful new film, Satisfaction, screening at the Glasgow Film Festival. So we're going to be discussing the film's themes, its portrayal of women's voices, and why it feels especially timely during Women's History Month. So, speaking of Women's History Month, do you feel Satisfaction contributes to a wider conversation about whose voices are believed and whose aren't?
Yes, thanks so much for having me, first of all. Without giving away too much of the film, unfortunately, this is one of those films where we can't really talk about what it's really about. We kind of have to talk around it. But without giving away too much, I have to say that I made this film for young women. I made this film for the sake of my 25-year-old self and for other women who might be able to see themselves in it. And at the heart of the story is a woman who regains her agency to speak up. And so I think, we as women have been kind of socialized for centuries to absorb everything in silence and be very polite and quiet about things. And I think, it's high time we start speaking up. And it's high time we kind of start um, getting away from that silence. And I think about Women's History Month, I'm so glad that it's being celebrated around the world because we get to learn about powerful female stories and powerful female voices that's all contributing to the conversation.
Yeah. What was the process like developing the film from script to screen? Like, was there anything that shifted or evolved when the actors got involved and stuff like that? Was there anything that changed?
Yes, the development, it's a very personal story, and it took me 10 years from start to completion. So, it was a very long process. And of course, a lot has changed throughout the process because it's a personal story. The script changed quite a bit as I was processing myself and my own pain and my own trauma. And then once the actors came aboard, they all brought a little bit of themselves into the film. They were allowed to improvise. So most of the dialogue in the film is improvised. And each one brought in their own experiences. So yeah.
Yeah. As a female writer director telling this story, did you feel a particular responsibility in how you approached it?
Not really. I didn't really think about it in those terms. As an artist, I have a responsibility to the story for it to be honest and real and emotionally deep. I didn't think of it in terms of as a woman or, as a queer woman or as an immigrant or anything like that. So, I tried to make it as honest and authentic to life and to me as possible, and that was the only thing I was kind of I was looking after.
Yeah. So what was the spot like the starting point? You kind of spoke about it like with your past trauma and stuff, like for satisfaction. Was there a particular like moment or something that made you think this story needs to be told?
Yeah, there was a moment, after film school, I was doing a lot of theater and I was putting up a play, and an actress asked me for a piece of backstory for her character. And I just kind of like came up with something on a spot. I blurted out. And then I realized, like, oh my God, that's something from my own story that I didn't really ever process or talk about. And I realized that I should probably talk about it and like I should process it in some way. So, I started kind of writing out scenes and moments and situations to try to process them, and they shaped themselves into a script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the title Satisfaction, it feels very layered, and because when I first read the synopsis and stuff, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And when I watched it, I was like, this is very different in a good way to what I actually thought it was going to be. What does the word mean to you within the context of the film?
That title stayed the same from the very beginning, from the very inception, but the meaning changed so much throughout the years. In the beginning, to me, it was a revenge story. It was, back in the day when somebody demands satisfaction, they're asking you for a duel. And so for the longest time, it was a revenge story. But as the story kept shifting and as I kept processing what happened, it became less about revenge and it became more about a satisfaction of an artist. As artists, we have to take the chaos of life and organize it into a story with a beginning, middle, and an end and a lesson. And it became more about being able to organize it. And um, in the end, the word satisfaction is so the main character is also an artist. She's a musician, and as an artist, she goes through a transformative journey as well as she processes her trauma. And to me, in the end, satisfaction is about, you know, going through this painful, traumatic experience and coming out on top, coming out stronger, coming out a better artist. And there is quite a bit of satisfaction in that. Yeah.
Yeah. But without like me going too much into the film, there was like a really striking moment where the main character, she's speaking to the other woman and we don't actually hear what she's saying. I think that was really emotionally like dramatic in a sense where we knew what happened to her because we saw it in the scene before, but it also portrayed that's how women feel like when they are trying to speak out, they don't feel heard. And I think that was really done really well. Like, so was a reason why you done that? Was it the way I portrayed it, or was there a different kind of like that's why you done it?
Yeah, there was a moment where the main character says what happened for the first time out loud, and we don't hear what she says, we just hear the waves crashing. It was scripted that way. I really felt like it's not about what she's saying, we know what she's saying. It's about that feeling of letting it out for the first time. And as you said, when you say something like that for the first time, you almost don't want people to hear you, and the crushing weight of emotions is stronger. Like you don't even know what you're saying. So I tried to kind of externalize that psychological phenomenon. I don't know.
It was done very well, like because that's what I got from it. Because the film portrays themes in such like an interesting way, but also makes you feel heard. Like a lot of women have been through what the main character's been through and stuff, and even like smaller things as well, like those men coming up to them in the bar and stuff, and like they feel like men just not all men, but like people feel that they have a right to do that to women and they shouldn't. So it was done very well. Was there like one of the most like powerful elements to me watching it was the aftermath, like how women can be doubted or dismissed or not fully heard for what they're actually saying. Why was that important to show like their social response to that rather than the actual incident itself?
Yeah, I mean, the issue that women have faced for centuries is we are not believed and we're not heard. And so I kind of wanted to show it in a modern context of this young woman going through something painful, and how that can erode your own understanding of what happened, and how that can start the creeping doubts about what happened, and you start doubting yourself, although you were there. You start doubting yourself if you misinterpreted the situation, if there was some misunderstanding. It all contributes to you know to the phenomenon that women experience, which is this collective this collective mm, doubt in female agency. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the woman's ability to recount what happened, and the woman's ability to like be sober about it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Just a quick, like, final question. What conversations do you hope audiences, particularly women, leave like after seeing the film?
Um, I made this film with a dream of a million young women to see it. Um, when times were tough and I wasn't sure if the movie's going and like we were losing financing and
Yeah.
the ship was rocking, I kept reminding myself a million women will see it, a million young women will see it. And so for me, number one is I hope that some women see themselves in it and don't feel so alone. And also, I hope that women and people see this character go through something so horrific and see her be able to heal. That I hope that will inspire their own personal healing. And of course, it's a complex film about a complex subject matter. So I hope that, it opens up more nuanced conversations on a topic. Because right now, the conversations we're having are way too basic. They're way too black and white. I think for this, for the subject matter to go on in a healthy, productive, constructive way, we need to start getting into the nuance.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think that it's very taboo talking about, even like to this day, they still feel like that. And even like some people I know that's been through it, like they don't want to talk about it because they think, no, because I won't be believed, or oh, that people just think this of me, they'll think that they're a victim. And it's like, no, you're not a victim. Like you're speaking out on what happened to you, and you should confidently be allowed to do that. So that I really appreciate your movie for that, because I felt really heard, and I know a lot of other girls and women are going to feel like that as well.
Thanks so much for saying that. Yeah, I think the trick is not separating yourself from what happened. It's actually the opposite. It's embracing what happened as part of your story and embracing it as what makes you who you are today, what makes you stronger. So, in fact, the realization that you were victimized is a healthy one. The realization that it's not your fault, or the realization that that clear view of what happened and not blaming yourself is the healthy thing. And speaking out about it and talking about it is the first step. So, we talked around it so much. I hope I hope I hope people will want to watch it and see what we're talking about.
Yeah,
And see for themselves how they feel. I tried to make it as complex and humanist a story as possible. I tried to not make it too black and white, and
yeah,
that's what a lot of people are kind of reacting to.
yeah. That's what I like about it though, because it doesn't just say what happens. Like there's very like abstract scenes in it, and the music as well. Like it was done like very well. Like I'm not even just saying that to be nice. Like it was done very well, and I think that's what's important though, because it sets it aside from, like, as you said, like you don't want it to just be black and white. You want it to be relatable, and like to people to actually be like, oh, that makes sense. Like I've felt like that, or I've known someone that's felt like that. So that's the most important part of it, is making people feel heard, and you've done a very good job of that.
Yeah, and back to Women's History Month, it's about telling our stories. It's about letting women tell their own stories in all their complexity and all the nuance. For 100 of years, we've seen so many women's stories told by men where it's just about a mother, or it's just about a lover, or it's just about an artist. But the truth is, women are complex, and we need to be able to tell our own stories in the complexity of female identity, where a woman can be all of those things at the same time, and how a certain event or uh, you know a certain thing can affect the complexity of womanhood, not just her as a mother, not just her as a stripper.
Yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate your time. But yeah,
Thank you so much.
of
Appreciate
course,
it.
of course. And good luck. I'm sure it's going to do very well. I'm excited.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.